Hey everyone, this is P4L, and in today's review we'll be taking a look at Bandai's Tamashii Nation's SH Figuarts Android 16. So this is the newly released Android 16 that just came out a couple weeks ago. So let's go ahead and start with packaging review as always, and you're familiar with this packaging by now. This nice kind of weird, almost like pointillism art that you see here that carries on to the side of the figure. You get the nice big window of Android 16. You get the SH Figuarts logo here, Android 16. The Tamashii Nation's logo, Dragon Ball Z. You get a nice little warning this time, a little sticker that says choking hazard, small parts, not for children under 3 years. On the top, you get more of this Comic Sans type font here that says Infinite Energy Models, which is the type of Android that 16, 17, and 18 are. On this side over here, you just get some product images as well as Android 16. On the back, we get a lot of promo images. So we get Android 16, obviously going V-N-N-N-N. I don't know what that's supposed to sound like. And then you get some with Android 17 and 18 up here, since they're the trio that always moves around together. And then you can see some of the accessories that come with him. So you can see that he has the hands for the Health Flash, as well as the damaged head from Cell. But yeah, that's about it. On the bottom, you do get the typical warnings and everything like that. But yeah, that's it. Let's go ahead and get this guy out and we can see what's in the tray. So out of the box, we get, again, the plastic tray that we're used to, and you get to see all the accessories and the figure. So we have 16 here, and he has a total of 4 different heads. So he has the one that's installed, he has kind of a yelling one, a smirking one, and then the battle damaged one. And you use the hair for these two, and then this battle damaged one comes with his own hair. And he comes with 2 sets of hands. And as always, you get the instructions. This one just tells you how to replace the hands or change the head, and also talks about the forearm pieces that allow you to remove them to do the Health Flash, and then just gives some warning that you may have some paint rub here, so just be careful. And that's it, white on the inside. So as far as accessories, he is kind of light, especially for this price point. He is a larger figure, but he is kind of light as far as accessories go. So let's go ahead and get this guy open and go straight into figure review. So here we have Android 16. Let's do a really quick 360. And I think they did a really good job recreating the likeness of Android 16. I always liked the character. I always liked the fact that he was a fully designed android as opposed to being a kind of cyborg. And the fact that, you know, Dr. Giro went back to, you know, cyborgs after him, after deeming him pretty dangerous. The 1 or 2 things that I have a problem with this figure, just from looking at it from 360, are these hip panels, which I think are just too long for the character, and I never remember them being this long. They fan out too much. Even when you have the legs like completely closed, they fan out, which give him a weird kind of silhouette, and looks more, I guess he looks more cellish with this. And even when I checked back for reference, the manga and anime had these much shorter, and they were more off to the center as opposed to kind of fanning backwards. But it's a minor thing. The other thing is they put these shoulder pieces to give you some extra articulation, which we'll go through later. They had to make them move from the back, which I think is kind of clever, so you don't see anything from the front, but it does break up the look from his back. And then last but not least, and we'll go over this some more in the articulation, but you can see from the back that his knee joint gives him, because there's only a half here, it creates a lot of a gap in the back of his knees, which is a little unfortunate. And I don't remember if other SH Figuarts had this problem, but none of the ones that I think I have this much of a gap. I think maybe it's just a different type of knee joint. But if you guys know, go ahead and leave it in the comment section. Again, I'm fairly new to the Dragon Ball and SH Figuarts line, so my collection is limited to more of the newer releases. But yeah, overall, I think those are my complaints about his overall look, just from looking at him directly from any particular angle. Otherwise, I think he does a really good job with the recreation. I love the red ribbon logo that they have here. I think the color looks really great. And this gray, it kind of looks in some lights navy blue, but it is like this dark gray, black. Looks really nice, so I liked the color contrast with the green. And overall, since there's not a ton of paint, there's not a lot to mess up. So you have some on here on the chest, as well as his undershirt kind of area there that's molded, but very clean overall. Again, they do warn you about some paint rub around these sections. Just be careful with your collectible as you normally would, and I don't think you'll have an issue. And then there are a couple of sprue marks. Like I want to clean this sprue mark up here because it's pretty noticeable. This one's a lot cleaner than this one here, but nothing too terrible. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into articulation. And he has pretty standard articulation overall. He has his head on a head and neck kind of on a double ball peg, and we'll show that off a little bit later. So you get, if you want, you can have him do the exorcist and go all the way around. He has a good range of motion, and you can get him back. Like, he looks kind of goofy with his, when he has his head kind of forward like this, but once you have it back, it looks pretty good. The face sculpt itself is also, I think, I don't know, it's a little bit different than I imagined it being in a 3D rendition of this character, but it's actually a pretty good representation with the square jaw, especially the thinner lower part and the larger head itself. The neck is also on a ball joint, the lower neck, I guess, is what you would call it. So he gets a good range of motion there as well. His shoulders are on a double ball peg, I believe. It's kind of hard to see. And it does make it look, it does give you a good range of motion as always, but it does look kind of goofy when you have it down like this. And you can try to position this around to cover that up if you need to have the arms pulled down. But again, you get a good range of motion, shoulder motion, as you would expect. He does have a bicep swivel. He does have double jointed elbows. You don't get a ton of motion with that extra joint. You get a little bit over 90 degrees, about maybe 100 degrees or so. And you see a little bit of gap, but not nearly as bad as the knees itself. And as always, the wrists are on the ball peg. And we'll get into the Hell Splash forearm pieces in a little bit. Going to the upper body, he does have a really good, I guess, solar plexus crunch. I don't know, I guess people call it ab crunch, but it's really an upper body kind of joint here. So you get a good range of motion, and unlike some figures, you don't get too much of a gap if you were to pose him forward. It's like this is all the way forward, and you barely see a little sliver, and I'm okay with that. Some other SH Figuarts figures have tons of gap when you move the I guess upper torso forward, or even the hips forward. If you saw my Iron Man Mark 43 review, you'll know what I'm talking about. Going down to the waist, he again has these hip covers, plates. He does have, I believe, a single a double ball peg. I haven't taken them apart, but you get kind of that amount of motion. And you can get about to here. I would say somewhere close to 40-45 degrees to either side. But these panels kind of get in the way. So once you start getting too far to the side, this front panel, his kind of crotch plate, gets in the way. The side ones luckily don't fan out too much more than stationary, which is a bad thing for stationary, but not a bad thing for when you're doing dynamic poses. His legs are the standard legs that you get. They're on a hinge to allow you to get a little bit more freedom of movement. So if you go up like this without pulling it down, you get about 90 degrees, not much going back. But once you actually pull that down, you get a little bit more back, but you get a ton more going up. And, you know, Dragon Ball is notorious for having like weird kicks like this. So it's good to have that extra movement if you want it. The downside again being that any kind of movement here is going to fling these up. And again, this is another reason why I wish they were smaller, because then even if they floated up like this with dynamic poses, because of the articulation, if it was smaller, it wouldn't be as bad looking. But right now, that looks kind of terrible, to be honest. His knees are double jointed. But again, here you see, once you get full articulation on that top knee joint, you get a lot of hollowness here. And again, I'm not familiar with this joint. I'd have to go back and check all my other figures, but at least of the ones I've reviewed, I don't remember seeing this at all. Again, a bit of a letdown. He does have the same, like, I don't know, I guess a ball joint and a ball peg. So he has a ball joint in the calf itself, but then the ball peg goes into the foot. So it gives him, again, a good range of motion, which SH Figuarts is known for, and a standard kind of toe pivot. This one goes a lot higher than the ones I'm familiar with, or the ones I have in my collection. It looks unnatural almost, especially because once you start going up too much, you start seeing this angle here. I guess the last thing, again, we showed this before. These are on ball pegs up here, and again, that is to allow you to get arms going all the way up, and that creates the illusion of this armor moving, which is good. I mean, I think this is a really good way to do it. They are tight enough so that they're not going to be like flopping around. They'll stick into the position. If you like them a little bit wider, if you want his shoulders to be a little bit wider or lower, you can do that without creating too much of a gap there, or you can have it up a little bit higher as well. Alright, so let's take a second and we'll go into the accessories. So here are the accessories that we'll go into. Again, not a ton of accessories, especially given the price point for this guy, which is a little disappointing. You usually get a lot more sets of hands. This one, it comes with the fists, and then these open, like, you know, energy attack hands, or grasping hands, if you want to call it that. The heads, you get 3 different heads. Oops, sorry about that. So you get this one, which is focused on the Scream, and this is one that you'll probably use for the Hell's Flash, his Scream one. He has kind of a smirking one, which he does quite a bit. He's not a big full-on smiler, but 16 does smirk quite a bit, especially when he looks at birds and animals and stuff like that. And then last but not least is his damaged head from when he gets blasted in the face by Cell, I think in Form 2, when he goes head to head with the first form, and then he absorbs 17 and becomes second stage. And there's a nice detail here, kind of like the cell shading damage that you see. I did want to zoom in here a bit. Well, I guess I don't really need to zoom in, but there's a lot of great detail, mechanical detail for the head. It's hard to even see all of it here. Let me see if I can focus it. But I was really impressed with the amount of detail that they put into this head itself. Really impressive. And I thought maybe you could unplug the hair here, like you can for the other figures, but I wasn't able to do that. And anyway, you have the other hair from the stock head, so you wouldn't really need to do that anyway. So let's zoom out and we'll go ahead and show you how to attach all these. Alright, so first things first, let's actually go in and show the arm cannons. So just to get to them, you just pull here at the joint. They're just a couple of friction joints. No peg or anything, so it's fairly easy to remove, but also fairly sturdy. And you get some silver painted detail, molded detail in here as well. I'll just zoom in really quick so you can see that. Nothing fancy, but definitely nicely added. So you can get both of those off. So it's not like Android 17 or 18 where they had brand new sets of arms that you had to plug in. You just basically unpeg those. And then if you wanted to recreate the scene, you know, you can have him kind of holding these under his arms or near his hips. And they actually have, I should have pointed that out too, they actually have deep molded detail on the inside, which is wholly unnecessary, but very nice that they did that. While we have the hands off, let's go ahead and just show the hands. Just unpeg them, peg them back in. You can throw that back on. And you can actually get a little bit of rotation in here, but not a whole lot. So I guess you can call that articulation or just maybe play in the joint itself. The head, just remove it from the ball peg. You're going to just wiggle this out. There's 3 pegs that go into the top of the head. You can go ahead and put it into either of the other heads. And they can just pop it back on. Standard stuff. And let's go ahead and plug in the damaged head one. And I really like this damaged head. I think they did a really excellent job. The fact that, you know, they closed the one eye, which is how he looked when after he was damaged. He always had like that one eye closed. Really nice. I do again wish he had more hands, like maybe just a relaxed hand, just a fist and this and the I guess claw or grabbing one or energy blast one. It makes it a little bit hard to create a scene with this head, just because in this head he was so badly damaged and non-functional that he was basically just laid out. And it would be nice to have some relaxed hands instead of these two, you know, posed hands. So that's one thing I would have liked to see, given that we do have this head. No energy effects or anything like that, which is a little disappointing. So very quick, let's do some comparisons just to give you an idea of how large this guy is. So let's go ahead and bring in 17 and 18 to complete the crew. And I think he's a little smaller than I think he should be in terms of height. Because usually when you see 17 and 18 with him, they usually only come up to his middle of his chest. And right here they're coming up to his shoulder. So I think that the scale is a little off, but it's not terrible. Bringing in my angry-faced Goku. I think this scale is not bad either, but I think he is still a little bit too short. I think he would have been better if he was just maybe a half a centimeter taller. It would give him that more daunting look that he had. And I remember when they were at the Cell games, Goku's like looking up trying to shake his hand, and he doesn't, I mean, he should be kind of like this. And I think, I read some, you know, scale height estimations for this guy, and they say, some say he's supposed to be nearly 7 feet tall, some say he should be over 7 feet tall, like 7.5 or so. And I think he just needs to be a little bit taller. But the scale itself isn't so terrible that it's not going to fit into your collection, obviously. But yeah, overall, for final thoughts, I really like this guy. I always liked the character. Like I said before, I think he was always an interesting character, and the fact that he's the one that kind of pushes Gohan, gives him that last bit of advice to go over the edge to Super Saiyan 2 is really nice. And it's not his father, and it's not Goku or anything like that, or anybody to know, but this artificial intelligence that is able to do that. So I've always liked this character. I always thought he was pretty badass when he fought Cell. After, you know, being on the sidelines for so long, you knew he was going to do something awesome. And the Hell's Flash is one of my favorite attacks in the whole series. I think it's kind of clever and innovative in terms of Dragon Ball. At least it's just not Energy Blast coming out. But yeah, I would say definitely pick him up. He is a little light on accessories, but I mean, if you have 17 and 18, there's no way you're not going to get this guy, right? So go ahead and click on this description, and there's going to be a link for Toy Dojo, the sponsor of this video, if you want to go pick him up and add him to your collection. If you have any comments or questions, if I missed anything, or if you would like to see a little bit more that I might have passed up on, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'd love it if you share with your friends and Facebook groups or wherever you are. If you want to get connected with me, I'm also on Facebook at Pig4Life Reviews. So go ahead and like me on there to keep up to date with all my reviews. And as is always, if you want to keep up to date on YouTube, you can go ahead and click that subscribe button there, which I always appreciate. I should be running my contest sometime in the next week or so for my 1,000+ subscriber competition. Alright? And this time I will have something, at least, that will allow my non-Transformers fans to get a prize that they might really enjoy. Alright? So that's all for today, everyone. Have a good one.